Kevin Robinson is a lawyer at Bernardi Human Resources Law based in Mississauga, Ontario. He spoke with us about accommodating mental health problems and addictions in the workplace. What are some of the biggest mental health and addictions issues in the workplace?
The first is the issue of discrimination. That is, that individuals that are affected by mental illness or mental health problems do tend to be disproportionately discriminated against. The second major issue in the workplace is that this is an incredibly complex issue. I'll give two examples. One is the concept of intersectionality. Lots of writers in the area are talking more and more about how individuals that suffer from mental health issues tend to have other conditions which exacerbate the symptoms, like addiction issues or other family issues. The second example is the concept of presenteeism. So notwithstanding the fact that we might have a significant number of people that are suffering from mental health issues, they may very well not be disclosing it. And they're coming to work and they're not able to work to capacity and they're not able to do the kinds of things that they might otherwise be able to do.
How should HR handle a situation where they suspect someone has a mental health problem or an addiction?
The HR person or the manager should sit down and say, hey, look, is there anything going on here? I've noticed that there's been a change with respect to your productivity, with your quality of work. There may not be anything going on. Just want to know, my door's open. Let's talk about it. Let's start improving. If the employee says, no, everything's good, that's fine. You wait for a bit. Maybe things improve. Maybe things get better. They just needed that little kick in the pants. If that continues or gets worse, I think that there's a second interview or sit-down meeting. And in that second meeting, it's a little bit more direct. It's, look, we've really noticed something's going on here. We have a bit of concern. Maybe there's nothing, but again, is there anything you want to tell us? And again, if the answer is no, then you move forward and you continue to monitor the situation. The last session, the last meeting is going to be, look, we've talked about this twice now. You've told us there's nothing going on. And if that's the case, we have some problems with what you're doing in the workplace, what your productivity is like with your performance. And we're going to have to really start managing this thing. Is there anything else? Hopefully at one of those stages, if there is an issue, the employee says, yeah, actually, I'm going through this at home. I'm suffering with this. I'm trying to deal with it. If they don't, well, then at least the employer has taken the steps to make sure that that door is open and allow the employee to come forward.
And how can HR best accommodate these employees?
Particular training to your employees and to your managers around the issues of mental health, mental illness, and being aware of it, being aware of the symptoms, and how to deal with it. In particular, what you want to have is your employees be more comfortable with identifying issues and concerns and coming forward with them if they're suffering themselves. And secondly, you want your managers to, number one, be able to monitor and observe behavior which might suggest that there is an issue, and also to be the face of the organization. Because I think if somebody is going to disclose that they've got an issue, they go to their manager, and if that manager isn't equipped to respond to the disclosure appropriately, they may very well throw it all out of whack. If they respond badly and that employee never wants to talk about it again, then you've got a problem. So I think training there is crucially important. The second series of things that I would suggest is where there is an issue that is disclosed and you're attempting to accommodate it, I think the first focus of the employer can be on reducing the exacerbating factors within the workplace. So, can we reduce stress? Stress is a huge contributing factor to these issues. Can we look at sharing arrangements? All of those sorts of things that can be controlled in the workplace that don't necessarily have anything specifically to do with mental illness, but to reduce the stress that could exacerbate those symptoms. Where somebody does disclose something and there is a serious issue, I guess the last thing I would say is that the employer really needs to seriously engage and deal with it. Unfortunately, I still see cases where it is a problem that the employer wants to solve and get rid of, as opposed to invest the time and energy to accommodate that employee and to help them out. And you know, we don't need to be Pollyannish about the issue. It's a difficult one and it is time consuming and it is expensive. But at the end of the day, I do think that there are benefits to an employer, both in terms of morale for others, productivity ultimately, keeping a good employee. And finally, you know, let's face it, we need to also reduce risk and liability. And I think the case law is progressing such that employers that don't do this well are at some point going to get hit with a bad decision, and you don't want to do that either. So those would be the primary areas that I would focus on.